another installment with Win with Glenn. As today we're going to talk about a great topic that spans the horizon, and that is for entrepreneurs, and that is business.
Welcome to the Win with Glenn video podcast, where Glenn Henderson and special guests will give you the tips, insight, and tools you need to grow, develop your business and career. Go with us as we dive into the best practices and rock-solid principles that will elevate you and bring proven success. Now, here's Glenn Henderson.
Today we're going to be talking about business. Well, you got the business of life, you have the business of business, and so we're going to see if I can, as Jim is joining me today, talk about, Jim, the basics of business. And people, we hear that term business, and I'm going into business. You have entrepreneurship, and by the way, this will apply to everyone, because if you're working, or even, frankly, which is a tangent but mainstream, the home is a business.
It is a business. Right. Church is a business. Home is a business.
Yeah. So your house runs as a business. There's attributes. So the topic of business really touches everyone, but I do want to see if I can hone it down just a little more.
Right.
We'll come back to the family business a little later, but in these principles that we're going to be discussing as we examine organizations, let's just start there. What is a business, Jim?
Yeah.
What is a business?
For me,
for the context as we will talk moving forward.
And that's good. That's a good question, because particularly when I've found myself over the years in front of young students, young people who are in entrepreneurial programs, they want to go out and start a business, or just in a conference or something where I can dialogue with people, with entrepreneurs. There's a lot of confusion about what a business is. People want to start something, they want to have a good income, they want to provide a product or service, but I think there's something that's missing, it's going to catch up with you eventually, and that is, what is a business? So I'm going to give you my little definition that I use. It seems to help the most. So a business is either a solution to someone's problem. So there's a problem, I have a solution for it, and you're willing to pay for that because you need that solution. Or it could be stated another way, that it meets a need that someone has.
Right.
For example, we want to go to lunch, we don't want to cook. Someone down the street has a cafe, they'll cook for us, we're willing to pay. And there's cafes that are inexpensive. There's fast food, which is not inexpensive anymore. There's fast food, or we could go to a nice restaurant with tablecloths and people waiting on us. And so the type of solution that we provide, it meets a need, it solves a problem. Maybe my car breaks down and I need to get it repaired. So a business is either a problem solver or it's a service provider.
Right.
And my willingness to pay whatever it is you're asking for it depends on the kind of quality of service. And that's always kind of been helpful, especially for people that weren't raised in business and so on, to get a handle on what we're about.
Well, I guarantee you that most people are going to say, well, why are they even talking about this at the start and at that level? But I've gone into, now you've already answered the question, but I want to go back to it again. But many courses, people that I've spoken to all over the country, in different parts of the world, over many years. And I'll ask a group of people, what is the purpose of a business? And if there's 10 people in the room, I usually get 10 different answers.
That's exactly
It's going to be, well, I want to make a profit. Okay, fine. Well, I don't want to work for the man.
Right.
Okay.
I want to retire early.
Right. I want to do things. I want to work for and they said, nope.
None of the above.
The purpose of it. Now you already said it, and probably folks have missed it, but you said it in two different ways, but it's still the same, and that is to meet a need. If you could have a great ideal, and the people don't understand this, you could have a great ideal, you could have all the money in the world, but if you're not meeting the need, it doesn't matter.
And if there is no need.
Right.
And great ideas, but there's just, I've had people call me, we've invested all this money, we're trying to get this thing launched, and it's not working.
This Go ahead, Jim.
No,
But, I mean, you got me
You,
excited.
you know this is
Check my pants.
you know this is the case. we had an idea.
Yeah.
We spent money and energy and time, and now it's not working. Why not?
Right. Because embedded in that thought in the briefcases, that will help folks. I think it informs me. It informs me my mission. It informs me why I'm here. And
Everything.
It informs my action. If you're not meeting a need, then stop doing what you're doing. And if they would get hold of that,
Yeah.
that will, because you got motivation, you got motivational speakers. If you're not meeting a need, then don't do
Yeah.
it. And so we have to examine and take some deeper dives as we walk through this. So hopefully you're getting now that the purpose of a business is to meet a need.
Meet a need.
It is the law of supply and demand.
That's
If
true.
you may have a great supply, you may have great. People talk about, God gave me this great idea. For the folk who are in the faith, or
Right.
I know I heard a voice,
Right.
or or I'm good at something.
Yeah.
And just because you're good at something doesn't mean that
people will
it's
pay for it.
That's right. Doesn't
The
mean
whole
it's
idea in a
business.
business is someone has to value enough what you do,
Right.
the solution.
And
you
be a
provide.
need.
Yeah, there has to be a need. They have to value it enough to pay you for it.
Right.
I can wash my own car on it any time, but typically I don't. I go through a car wash and let them do it. Not that I'm not capable of
Right.
washing it, but I'm willing to pay the $5 or whatever it is to slip through. They'll do a nice job of it. So I give them something that I have in exchange for something that they do.
And what people are not seeing, and what you just said, I don't think as clearly as I want them to see it, so I'm going to say it, is that you've just now said, I have a need. You
Yeah.
said, I want to have my car washed, but I don't want to do it.
Right.
So now a need has been presented
Right.
to me. And so from there, I say, now there's the demand. Now who's going to
Right.
provide the
And
supply?
if there is no demand,
Right.
if there's not enough demand for it, you can have, like you said earlier, you can have a fantastic idea. Example, you can make the best pizza in the world. There's nothing like New York pizza, by the way.
Chicago.
I forgot your friend. I forgot.
That's
about
right.
that. So
It may not be like New York.
we'll go to
but
Kansas City
it may not be
barbecue.
like-
Since I grew up in Kansas City.
Chicago.
He grew up in Chicago, so we always compare the barbecue. But if no one wants it, it doesn't matter if you have the best thing in the world. If no one wants it, you're going to be stuck with it. And there are cases. This is for another day where people have created a market. Right.
That's right.
They've created a
We'll
market
talk
that
about that.
didn't exist, and that's a whole nother story. But for most of us, we're not capable and don't have the resources to create an entire market. So if there are 10 car washes on this boulevard out here, it's very unlikely that we need another one, right? So if the need is being met by everyone that's doing it, there's probably not a good idea. So is the need big enough to provide the need for a business?
Right.
Am I going to be able to deliver
Right.
on my services? Because we're going to talk about in another segment is competition. Mm-hmm. There is going to be competition.
The competition is good.
Yes, it is. It'll drive you to excellence, or drive you out of business.
Well, but I know we're up against the clock on this segment, so I'm going to let everyone know already there's going to be a part two, because we're still
started.
scratching the surface on part one. But you said something, and it spurred something to me that I had never thought about. And you said they wouldn't, you're doing something, and they may not want what you need. And I want to challenge everyone to think about what we just heard there. So a business is there and is there to meet a need. And then you said, but somebody may not want what you need. And my brain always is always off in the,
No.
yeah. And so,
No one's gonna buy that.
here's a question I have for the audience and the people that are listening on this podcast. Is it better to be wanted or needed? And so there's a interesting, so businesses are there. So I'm going to answer that question so that everyone knows, and then set us up for the next installment, because as we're talking about businesses, the reason why this is so dear to my heart is I've probably have had more businesses that have failed than succeeded, as we say. When I say failed, we talked about what success is. But when I say failed, that means it's no longer here, and it's no longer here for certain reasons. But what we're talking about in these rock solid principles, Jim, is how to make sure that the dream doesn't become a nightmare.
Right.
And so
And it can be.
I'm going to give you right. I'm going to give you those. We're going to talk about those principles in the next installment. But as I close this one out, want and needs is to be better to be wanted than needed. And so I'm going to push the needle and say you want to be wanted more than needed, because if I get you at the point where I need you, then guess what I'm going to do after I don't need you any longer?
Yeah, you're disposable.
I'm just going to get rid of you. And so what businesses, and I try to frame this up in the context of culture and character and integrity and all those type things. And I've talked about people do business with people that they like. So you need to understand the fundamental purpose of the business is to meet a need, but then your culture, your character, your integrity, all that stuff
Goes together.
shapes you together where a person wants
I want to do business
to
with you.
do, I want you to
Exactly.
service my needs.
Yeah, and
This has been Glenn and Jim. We've been talking about rock solid principles, the foundation terms, business, and what things you need to know before you start a business. Everyone, not everyone, but most people talk about they want to start a business. So we're going to continue this in our next installment, Win with Glenn. I'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us for the Win with Glenn video podcast. Stay connected by following and subscribing to this podcast on these platforms. Join us every week as Glenn and special guests give you the tools you need to grow and have a successful business or career.